Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother.
Hi there, Carl Boltzmann here. Welcome back to my studio. In this video, I'm going to be deconstructing Fatboy Slim's The Rockafeller Skank from his 1998 album, You've Come a Long Way, Baby.
Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, about now, about now, about now.
Now let's talk about the main hook in this track, which are the vocals. And it was sampled from Vinyl Dogs featuring Lord Finesse from the track Vinyl Dogs Vibe from 1997. The album was Tracks of the Vinyl Dogs.
Check it out right about now. It's no other than the Funk Soul Brother, the Lord Finesse. And you're welcome to the world of the Vinyl Dogs right about now. So if you're digging, peep how we do it like this.
While doing my research on this track, The Rockafeller Skank, I came across an interview with Lord Finesse, who was the voice here at the beginning of this track. And he's a pretty famous rapper and hip-hop producer from New York City. And Fatboy Slim's record company got in touch because they were trying to clear the samples for this album. And so apparently he got a fax. He didn't even get a phone call, which is which is a bit of a throwback. But he got a fax from the record company saying that they were going to use, or that they wanted to clear his voice from this track. But they didn't really explain what the track was, and he didn't get to listen to the track. So given what little information he had there, he still signed off on it, and he gave them permission to use his voice without giving him any compensation, which is definitely a cautionary tale, because I think he was trying to be a nice guy and just not make a big deal about the fact that another producer wanted to sample him. But then at the end of the day, this became such a huge hit, and it would have been so much money for him. Like, as he said it, it would have been retirement money, and he is correct. Anyway, let's sample this real quick here.
Check it out right about now. Right about now. Right about now. It's no other than right about now, the Funk Soul Brother.
Then we're going to make a second track here so that we can overlap these samples. I think what he did, and I'll link this below too, there's an interview where it shows him using the original Atari computer with the C-Lab Creator software, which is kind of like a sequencer, sort of like a tracker, an early day DAW. And they were powerful systems, but their UIs were obviously very cumbersome. What he did is he put these little segments of music, he would be able to play them on the keyboard, just like MIDI samples on the keyboard. And so that's how he segmented out the samples.
Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother, right about.
So let's actually move on to the drums here, because they're the next element to come in.
Soul Brother, check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother, right about now. The Funk Soul Brother, check it out.
Now, as far as the drums are concerned, there are a lot of different samples that are going on here. And they're just like separate snare samples and clap samples and things like that kind of get introduced. There's one beat that is almost like a drummer on a cymbal and a snare and a bass drum, but it's noise gated, and so the cymbal is being cut up.
Soul Brother, check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother, right about now.
And then the main beat comes in here.
Brother, right about now. The Funk Soul Brother, check it out now. The Funk Soul.
And even that beat right there, it's kind of unidentifiable. There's at least two separate beats piled on top of each other. And partly because of some of the clarity issues, maybe to do with the sampler he was using or the equipment that he was using, it's hard to tell. Or maybe it's just because it's too compressed. But it's really difficult to tell exactly, where these samples would have come from.
About now, the Funk Soul Brother, check it out now.
Now, for the sake of argument, I will point out that a lot of people say that the main drum sample was taken from David Bowie's Join the Gang from 1967.
Let me introduce you to the gang. Johnny plays the sitar, he's an existentialist. Once he had a name, now he plays our game. You won't feel so good now that you've joined the gang.
Now that's a pretty rough sounding gang he's got there. But I gotta say, I don't actually hear any of these individual hits. Like the snare, it's not really identifiable from what I can hear. And so I've still sampled this in the way that if it was used by Fatboy Slim, that it would have been used in Rockafeller Skank. I just can't say for sure that it was, that's all. So first of all, we want to isolate the left channel, obviously, because that's where the drums are. And then I bump up the low end and the high end, as I often do here with these 60s, 70s records. And so that is the drum pattern for what it's worth. But there's also definitely a clap going on, so I'm going to add a clap in here as well. And so that's an 808 clap. And then there's a very resonant snare that's happening on these beats here at the end of the bar. Now, the other thing to remember too with Rockafeller Skank is that the main sample, which we're going to talk about right now, has all of the drum elements in it as well. And it comes from Just Brothers and their track Sliced Tomatoes from 1972. The sample here is really quite simple. It's actually the third bar. So I'm going to throw in the David Bowie drums and the claps, and let's hear how it sounds. It's only part of the sample base that Fatboy Slim used, if he even used the David Bowie sample, which I'm not sure he did, but we'll see how it sounds here. So I was reading an interview with Norman Cook, or Fatboy Slim, and he was talking about how a lot of it was sample based, but he would have to play his own bass. And so that's no different in Rockafeller Skank. So I've added a bass here. It's kind of a sub bass that also has a crunchy high. So right there, you heard a shout just before this other guitar comes in. And that shout came to us from JJ Allstars and their track Soup from 1972.
Here comes music to set your soul on fire and to satisfy your heart desire. A soul. Sing your song, brother. Will never be wrong. Lose, you're gonna lose. Things you say you love, you're gonna lose. Lose everything. No, but that's group of face and go on, so. Your boy out there. This a Soup. Play back the music from the top, Mr. J. Right now, I'm...
So it's right there at the minute 30 mark.
Right?
And it's pitch shifted up by 1.5 semitones. So let's take a listen to what we have so far.
Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother.
So the next sample to come in here is this guitar. And that guitar comes to us from John Barry and his track Beat Girl Main Title. So let's try tossing that sample in here and see what we need to do. So we're gonna have to pitch shift it, and we're going to also change the tempo. So we sped it up there to the right pitch, but it made it too fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it back to its original pitch, and we'll just make a loop out of the part we're going to use. I'm going to take that, I'm going to make it its own clip. Now, there are many different ways to do this, but this is the way I'm going to demonstrate it here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to pitch it up by 2 semitones. Now that sounds a bit ugly, so we're going to change the algorithm that it's using, and we're going to put it on complex, which makes the pitch shifting without stretching sound a lot better. But we still need to find the right speed because that's way too fast. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the BPM here to where the bar ends at the correct time, and that should give us the right beat. So with a little bit of EQ, let's see how it sounds here with the track.
Funk soul rubber.
Right after this break here comes in another guitar. And that was sampled from Brian Poole, the Tremeloes, Why Can't You Love Me from 1963. And so let's take a listen. It's panned into the left channel. So let's talk about one last sample here. And it is the drum fill that is throughout the Rockafeller Skank, but also right here before this guitar solo. And that was sampled from the Bobby Fuller 4 and their track, I Fought the Law from 1965. And this fill is all throughout the Rockafeller Skank. It's a great fill, and honestly, he didn't even do too much to it, to be honest. So we just cut it down here and placed it in a couple different places. So you can hear it here at the beginning.
Right about now, funk soul rubber.
So I just want to talk about one last notable thing about the Rockafeller Skank, and that is here around the mid to end point of the song when he takes the entire track, slows it down.
Funk soul rubber. Right about now, funk soul rubber. Check it out now, funk soul rubber. Right about now, funk soul
So I'm not sure exactly how I did that on C-Lab Creator because I've never used that program. But the method that I would use in order to do that would be to render down the whole track as one. And so you just have to deal with one element. And what I've done here is I've just slowed it down from around 152 BPM to around 20 BPM. And then the other element I want to talk about is the high-pitched screams that you hear after the slowdown happens. A way to do that is you can take any sample here, and I've just taken part of the song, and I've cut it up into little pieces. And then as we move along here, I cut it up into shorter and shorter and shorter pieces. I would love to know what exactly he used on C-Lab's Creator, because those samplers, for as primitive as they were actually quite powerful and were able to do some really impressive things, as you can hear on these tracks. So I hope you guys found that interesting. Let me know in the comments if you want to see any more Fatboy Slim content, because I can definitely produce a couple more of these videos. And on that note, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.
Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out.